live. Yay! Everyone, I want to welcome this morning Nate and Cassie with Native Nomads here to the Wall Travel Services live Q&A. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Happy to be
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah.
So before we get into the introductions, I just really want to share with everybody how we even connected and became friends, because I think it's such a cool story, and it's kind of, when you're living this travel life, it's one of those. It actually becomes like a common kind of story, right? But one day I was in Starbucks, and this tall dude, like there was a problem with the internet, and this tall dude was talking to the Starbucks guy, and I was standing to talk to the Starbucks guy too. But the tall dude was saying everything I wanted to say. So I just stood there and wait till he finished, right? And I think we started chatting, right, Nate?
Yeah. I think so.
We started chatting, but then left it there, and I went on about my day. He went on about his day. But later that day, we saw each other again in the Fiesta Americana, right?
Yeah.
And he was with this beautiful woman
Aw.
who was his wife, who was Cassie. And we started talking, and then I think we realized that we had both been interviewed and were part of Location Indie, right? We've both been interviewed by Jason for Zero to Travel podcast, right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering right?
Yes, one of our. Actually, we hadn't been interviewed at that point. We were still aspiring interviewees, and we were like, "Oh, you've been on Zero to Travel. That's our favorite." That was such an inspirational podcast for us to start traveling abroad.
Yeah,
so
same.
Like it was meant to be that we met you.
I think we were on it like 2 years later or something.
Yeah, 2 years
like that.
later.
Okay. All right,
I remember talking to, I think it was Rick, but I was talking to him about how to set up his watch.
Oh yeah, that was actually another meeting, because because we ended. It was funny because before we actually started like hanging, we had these sporadic or serendipitous like meetups at Starbucks, because I think we saw you a couple of times at Starbucks. Yeah. But after the Fiesta Americana meeting, then I remember I met up with this couple. And, we were talking, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Nate, Cassie." And I was like, "Nate, Cassie." And they knew you. So it's just funny that we're connected in all these different ways. So just wanted to share that with everyone. And it's always fun remembering how I'm connected to you guys, because you guys are awesome. And I love watching your travels. And I know, so the topic of today's Q&A is the 5 things I love about traveling to Europe. And the reason I invited Nate and Cassie is because they just finished 6 weeks, right?
7
weeks.
7 weeks.
I guess we were really only there for 5 or 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we also went to some other places. So 4.5 weeks.
Okay, 4.5 weeks. So 4.5 weeks through Europe. And I just finished 25 long days through Europe. So who better to have this conversation with, right? Hey, Asia, so glad you're joining. Another awesome traveler, great story there too. And Isaac, oh my goodness, all of our friends, yay! So I wanted, before we jump into Europe, right, what I like to do on this show is to ask a couple of icebreaker questions. So you guys can answer separately or collectively, whichever you want.
Or can we answer for each other?
You probably could. So my first question for you, so you guys have been traveling a long time, right? Would you say that you're still like backpacker type travelers, or do you think you're moving into Lux life, give me all the cushy stuff type travelers?
I can answer that one.
Can I just
phone a friend?
No.
Let's see.
We started out like luxury travelers.
Oh, okay.
We used to stay at like the Omni, get like suites, and we used to stay at all these really fancy, like we never stayed in like we would always stay in the most like not nice. The most fancy, but they were very nice, expensive, different places.
You had all those hospitality connections.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I used to work in hospitality, so I used to always get like deals and things like that at all these luxury places when we were first dating, when we were first married. And I think right after we got married, we went camping. And that
For
was
our
like,
honeymoon.
and for our honeymoon, we went camping.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so,
Okay.
that kind of started that off. But I feel that we've started doing more camping, more kind of like rough kind of backpacking. We actually just stayed on this last trip to Europe. We actually stayed in our first youth hostel that we were in, like the bunk rooms, and we stayed in our first van.
Yeah, and that was funny because I was on the top across the room above some old guy that was snoring.
Oh
and he was across the room underneath, and we were both like, we had curtains, and we were both like,
that's cute.
So I would say
that.
We do still do some like small getaways to some places that are, time to rest and relax instead of like live the backpacker lifestyle. But
I guess we are kind of backpacker lifestyle.
Yeah, you want to answer? You want to try to beat mine?
True. I know. I was gonna say we maybe between on the way up to being more luxury. We've got some like dabbling in luxury, but yeah, we're pretty much backpacker.
Yeah.
We stayed in an oxygen hotel in Europe. We stayed,
which is, you have to explain.
Oh, it's in like a pod, so you feel like you're sleeping on like the Star Trek Enterprise.
It's like a basically a plastic thing, and there's lighting inside, and they try to charge you a lot of money, and it's basically a hostel.
Okay, I've seen those in like Japan and maybe South Korea. I didn't realize they're in other, like in parts of Europe. Okay, cool.
We slept in a van on our trip.
I saw that.
We stayed in a couple luxury places just to kind of relax. But that's a good question.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, your answer, a part of it surprised me because typically what I see is people go from backpacker to Lux, but you guys went the opposite way. Because I know me, like as I was dragging my bag across cobblestones in Nuremberg, Germany, I was like, no, I want to hire the driver next time. And then in one hotel, I'm pulling my stuff up 3 flights of stairs. Like, oh my God, no. So, so I think I've gone like less budgety to more like I will pay for the things. Like I will pay for the services.
Yeah. I definitely agree on that, and I think like when it comes to, I'm trying to think about that, but yeah, when it comes to certain like luggage or like we've started to invest in nicer luggage, because it's like I'm just so tired of like roughing it. So yeah, there's certain things I do think we've invested in that are really nice, but I'd like to go the luxury route. One day we'll get there.
Yeah. Or a mix of it, right? Like I think that we took a 3-week trip across Mexico, and you guys remember I did sort of a mix of hostels and like resorts, nice hotels, just a mix. Real quick, Asia has a question. She said, did you guys feel claustrophobic sleeping in the pods?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, it was not like, I think if you were by yourself, it would be better, but we were like both squeezed into the pod. And so
really?
it was kind of like, it was a little tight. Yeah. And so and then there's no, like, you can't push, like there's no way to go. They close in on you as you get a little bit more and more into your sleep.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we could go on and on because we love talking travel. But I want to dig into the Europe trip. So before we talk about the 5 things that we loved about traveling through Europe, why don't you guys take us through just kind of the overview of your trip to Europe? When did you start? Where where you guys traveled to, and then we will move into the 5.
Okay. Oh, so for the last trip that we did, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you.
Or if not the last trip, because you guys have been to Europe before, but I guess just for the sake of this one, your most recent trip to Europe would be good.
Okay. Well, we flew to Madrid and stayed there. We ended up staying there for I think like 8 or 9 days.
Okay. And we flew to Mexico this time.
Yeah, we flew.
That's kind of an important thing. Was like this is the first time we actually flew direct from Mexico to. We usually had to fly to America and then fly over, but we flew directly from Cancun to Madrid on a very obscure airline.
World to fly, right? Yeah.
So that was good, and then it was freezing, by the way, when we were there. So we weren't really prepared for that, but thankfully we did bring some coats and stuff. But we were just like, whoa, it's so cold. We're not used to this.
Now, when you say freezing, what do you mean? Because, like, I know for me, it was 76, 80 where I was, and I was cold because I live in Mexico.
Like
in the 30s and 40s.
Oh,
30s. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cold.
And I had my warmest windbreaker.
Yeah, he didn't have I had a heavy coat, thankfully, but poor me.
Gosh.
So yeah, so we were there and then we were like, let's go somewhere warmer. So we traveled south, and we went to Seville. And that was, how long were we there? Like 6 days or something?
6 days.
6 days.
Nice.
So yeah, that was beautiful. We got to see like there's so many amazing castles and like palaces. We saw the Alcazar Palace there. Oh, and I was gonna say, before we did that, we when we were in Madrid, we took 1 day trip to Toledo.
Toledo, right? Or Toledo. Yeah, they say Toledo. Yeah.
We said Toledo too, and they're like Toledo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were quick to correct, but that was so beautiful. We love that place.
I've heard.
It was amazing. Yeah. Just for 1 night away, but it was an incredible place that we want to go back to. It was like you could stay there. I think maybe like 3 or 4 nights. Yeah, it's pretty small.
It's small, but it's like on the route too. Like if you head from Madrid south to all the like, Cordoba and all those places.
And then we had a decision to make when we were in Sevilla, which was either to go to Malaga, which was like 2.5 hours away, or go to Faro, which is Portugal, which is 2.5 hours away.
There's a big concert in Faro, I think, this year in July. So yeah, I know about Faro.
Okay, yeah. And so we like sat there that one night, and we were just kind of like, basically this entire trip was planned like day by day.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, because you were like, then we decided to go. So I was going to ask about how much planning you guys had. So this was let's get there and then we'll see.
Just figure it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Just go from place to place. And so we decided just to like,
let's try a new country.
And we had no real plans at that point other than just picking different cities and taking a bus and going to them and then finding a hotel there.
Yeah.
But we went to
Albufera. Stayed at a really like kind of funny resort that was really cheap. We found it through like booking.com. I think it was the off season. So it had like a pool. All these people from like Northern Europe were like in their bathing suits with their tanning oil, and it was sunny, but it was still really cold. And we were kind of laughing at them. Tanning. But it was nice.
Yeah.
We were there for a few days.
I think we were there for 3 days. And then we went to Lagos and then up to Lisbon, where we rented a van. We rented like a camper van, and we drove around Portugal for 5 nights.
Yeah. We had it for 3 and we extended it for 2 more. We loved it. It was so nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Madrid, Toledo, down to Sevilla, and then you went to Faro
Albufera, Lagos.
Then to Lisbon, where we got the van and we drove around inside of Sintra, and we got to see Nazaré, which is the land of the biggest waves in the world.
Nice.
And then we stashed the van back in Lisbon, and we took a bus up to Porto.
Yep, love
Porto. And then we took a plane from Porto to Barcelona. That was our last place, and then we flew to South America. But.
All right. Some of what you guys have touched on hits like my 5 things that I loved about traveling Europe. So I will tell you, so my 25 days, it was also a bit of planning and not planned, right? I will tell you that I chose one thing I'll get into it. But one thing I love is that when you're in Europe, it's easy to get around, right? That's one of my 5. But anyway, so I actually flew to Nuremberg, Germany, even though I was supposed to meet a group in Paris, because it actually ended up costing less for me to go to Nuremberg and take a train than it did to fly to Paris. And so my trip was kind of strange because I ended up a 9-hour layover in the UK, which some people like, that's stupid because you could have just flown to the UK, taken a train to Paris. Yeah, well, the ticket was still more, okay? And so, so I was 9 hours in the UK, and I ended up getting, there's a place you can store your luggage. And so I stored my luggage, and I got an underground ticket, took the underground to, in town in London. And I traipsed around London for a few hours before like sleep hit me and hunger was like, feed me now. And then I headed back to the airport, flew to Nuremberg. It was my first time actually like staying in Germany. So cute, want to go back. And then took the train from there to Paris, was in Paris for 6 nights, and then went to Lyon for 2 nights, which I really wanted to spend more time there. And then I took the train down to Carcassonne. My friend keeps correcting me, and she picked me up there and drove me to Limoux. So truly, trains, planes, automobiles, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention the bus from Merida to Cancun to take the plane. But anyway, and then Limoux was awesome. I stayed there 3 nights. Such a cute little town. I went to my first IKEA. Right? It took me going to Europe to go to IKEA, but hey, whatever.
Origin.
And then the funny thing, we went to IKEA to eat, which I was like, why are we going to IKEA to eat? But she just really, it's the most hilarious thing.
Was
but
it sweet
she was
meatballs?
like, she talked about the meat. I had the meatballs because they're like, you gotta have these meatballs. And I'm like, so I go to Europe to go to IKEA to go to eat.
That's funny.
It's funny. Okay, but it was awesome. I was like, this is pretty cool. I have to go to more IKEAs. But anyway, so then I went from there.
We're getting a lot of traction about the meatballs.
Yes, Camille. The IKEA experience was top notch for sure. I was like, we're going to IKEA to eat, but hey, I'm a believer now. I'm a believer. But from there, because it was in Toulouse. So where she lives in Limoux is actually pretty close to Montpellier, which is like, you can get to the beach and whatnot, and then Toulouse. So it's kind of cool. It's these towns in France, which again, I'm getting ahead of myself, where it seems like you're in a rural area, but you're so close to these like big towns. So anyway, and she lived like only 3.5 hours from Barcelona. So I hopped on another train from Limoux to Barcelona, and then got on a ship and took a 7-day cruise. And came back and spent a couple of nights in Barcelona, a couple of nights in Valencia, and only 1 night in Madrid, which none of those were enough. Like these two nights is like, it's enough to get a taste, right? But you really, I think for any of these places, even if it's a smaller town, 3 nights is a good time frame to spend.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because you basically have 2 full days, like where you don't have to worry about like packing or traveling.
Yeah, and even recovery time, right? 2 nights is definitely a tease, Camille. Definitely. Because even so, like Lyon, for example, after being with after being with the group for 6 nights or for 5 nights, and I get to Lyon, I didn't go explore that afternoon. Like I stayed in my hotel room, and I was just like,
Janita, I wanted to say I was following you. I like vicariously. I loved all of your lives, and like you'd be on the train and just showing us like the view. It was so great.
Thank you for that. And for people who are on Facebook, you can my European Adventure photo album. It's public, so you can go check out the photos and videos from that. And all that being said, we could talk about a lot of different things when it comes to traveling to Europe. But what I want to do is talk about, like, you guys have been a few times. I was there like in 2015, but then this time I got to see more. Thinking about your traveling through Europe, what are your five favorite things about traveling through Europe or in Europe?
Yeah.
So you guys give your first one. It doesn't have to be ranked in any order. And then I'll give mine, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So one of my, right off the top, in terms of like, travel and all of these things. If you travel around the United States, we have similar size sections of it, right? That kind of feel the same. Like, me going between Washington and Oregon, it's not really a whole lot of difference other than one place has sales tax. But one thing that I've always loved about Europe is I can travel the same distance between France and Spain, and you feel like you're in a brand new world.
Yeah.
And you jump on a bus or you jump on a train and you fall asleep for a couple hours and you wake up and you're like, Germany Germany doesn't remind me of Switzerland. Switzerland is its own entity. It's got its own culture. It's got its own language. It's got, and then you go to Italy and you go to all these different places, and it feels like it's just an amazing experience just to feel that, right? To feel like the different presence and the different cultures and to see them and everything. So that's number one.
And it's easy and cheap, fairly cheap.
Those are multiple. Stop it.
So that's number one off the bat for me.
Yeah. And I know it's hard to encapsulate it all in like 5, right? Because even me thinking through, like I stopped at 6, so I have an extra one. But I agree with you. And I would say the thing that's most related to what you said for me would be no visas required. Now, of course, so my number one would be no visas required. Now, the caveat there is if you're because we're U.S. passport holders. And then that's if you're traveling through the 26, and I always say it wrong. Is it Schengen? I always say it wrong. What is it? That zone. But I always say it wrong. But if you're traveling through the zone, and also the UK and some other countries, as a U.S. passport holder, you don't need a visa. And so that to me makes it very easy, right? It's easy to get there, and it's easy to go from country to country. So you don't have to worry so much about crossing borders. So I think that's related to your guys' number one. But I would say as a traveler, thinking about the things that could be a barrier to entry, the fact that you don't need a visa is awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like when we traveled from Spain to Portugal, and also the COVID times, we were kind of surprised. Like they didn't need to see our passport. In fact, I was like, I want a stamp. Give me the stamp. But they didn't.
Right.
We were traveling by land, and they didn't require that. They didn't need to see our vaccination card. We were like, okay, it's kind of weird. Yeah. So it was pretty easy once you're there,
Yeah. And I see a question from Asia. It's a good question. What kind of budget do I need to take a trip for a few weeks like you guys did?
You really want to know?
Yeah, well, I would. So
you really want to know?
I will say one of the things on my list. So I'll go to my number 2, and then you guys go to your number 2 because it answers this. But one of mine is it's actually less expensive than people think. If you do it a certain way, like it's less expensive than you would think. And I would say because there's good quality, low cost lodging. If you can deal with European rooms, which are small, and possibly no lift, no elevator, right? So, and then like food and food and wine is actually, in my experience, less expensive. So I think it's less expensive than people think. So I'll leave it there, but you guys kind of talk about, your budgeting and whatnot.
We did budget travel. There were some things that really raised the our expenses.
What was that?
I feel like the hotels, the kind of like the last minute hotel rooms.
Yeah, that would be a piece of advice. Is I guess if you can try to book ahead because you'll get better accommodations for less cost. That was the one drawback of like not really having a plan was things were like, the good ones had been taken. And so you're kind of left with, when you're traveling budget, you're kind of left with the bottom of the barrel and you're still paying, kind of a high mid-range price for something that wasn't great. So I think if we had planned ahead a little, especially in Spain, in Portugal, it was a little easier to find.
Exactly.
Well, I will say, so what I did plan my hotels ahead of time, And well, y'all know because I'm a travel
You're
advisor,
fun.
so hey, and so it was. But the thing is, like my personal travel style, as I've said before, I'm not necessarily a resort person. I like boutique, I like local, right? And so my room, so in Lyon, my room was that's actually my least favorite hotel, but it was maybe for the 2 nights, I would say it was like 70 something per night. So not,
Mhm.
but I also chose it because it was on the train line. So they were close to the train, and they have an electric train there, and it was right there on that line. And
Oh, cool.
so that's why I chose that one. I have
Yeah.
a video about that in the photo album. In the oh my god, in Valencia, I loved the hotel, and I paid like 130 for 2 nights.
Nice.
And it was in the midst of everything. The hop on hop off spot was right down the street. There were cafes and stuff everywhere. My spot in Madrid was right in Gran Via, and it was like 50 something for the night. You had
Okay.
to take the stairs. The elevator was like this big, right? So it's
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
but it was right on Gran Via, right in Plaza España, right
Mhm.
near the hop on hop off. So you can get a great location and a good like mid-range hotel, right? Because none of them were like fancy schmancy, but they were clean, they were comfortable, they were, highly rated for like I would say 50 to 70 a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
You know?
and yeah, 50, 70 euro. And I mean, yeah, I love what Camille said. You gotta think about the euro is a little bit more, but you can
Yeah.
get one of those apps that will translate it, what it is in dollars. But I will say, I found for this trip, we're used to Airbnb, but on
Mm,
this one, Airbnb wasn't nearly, I feel like the value wasn't nearly as good in
yeah,
Europe as
I agree.
when we would go through booking.com, which is what we mainly use, we
Or
got a much better
Janita.com.
value. Huh?
I
What?
said, or use Janita.com.
I
Janita.com.
didn't
Yeah, yeah.
mention
All
yes,
travel.
exactly.
When you're in a
Because
pinch, right?
yeah, we use
No, but honestly, booking.com is a good one. And I will say, with booking.com, they also rate hostels. And you guys know, so another way to keep it budget friendly, because like in Lyon, there were some great hostels. They didn't have a private bathroom. The thing I've learned about me is I like hostels, but I like a private bathroom. So, so
yeah.
booking.com though is really good because in addition to hotels, they rate hostels as well on there, and
Yeah.
Expedia as well. They'll have hostels listed. So
Mhm.
if you're open, and this is my opinion, you guys can chime in here. I think hostels are great for like solo travelers because there's a community, right? And they
Mhm.
usually have events and things like that. So if you're open, then I think hostels are great. And some you can get for like 25 a night or less,
Mhm.
right? Depending on what's comfortable for you. I've stayed in the dorm style before, and it was so awesome because I met this woman who was on her sabbatical. I'm like, how the freak can I take a sabbatical? Right? So I was like,
I
please
love
explain this to me, right? And then I've done the private room and like the Quizbeat in New Orleans. It's all
Mhm.
private rooms. So hostels are another great way of managing your budget as far as lodging. So
100%.
Yeah, I loved the hostel life because it was a little new. We've stayed at hostels before, but never like the dorm style. And I guess he had when he was younger, and so we were kind of like this.
18.
It was like fun, and it was a highly rated hostel. And I will say, one thing to keep in mind, especially in Europe, I mean, this is anywhere, but I think it's better to have a really high reviewed place in an amazing location than, the fanciest hotel, but it's like outside of town. Like if you're on a budget
right,
travel, like we had to because, there's like a few factors. And I think those are the most important was location. And then it had high, good reviews. And sometimes that meant we were like in a little bunk bed, but it was still worth it because we were right in the middle of things. We met really cool people.
yeah.
It was
We
clean.
tried a couple of the ones that were outside of town, and you'd like
It was like 40 euros to get
12,
one taxi,
12:30 and
Right,
then
right.
catching an Uber back to wherever you are, and it's like, oh, come on,
Yeah. And the thing of
$55.
and the thing to remember, about Europe, and it's not on my top five list, but is for a lot of the places, at least where I visited, they're so easy to walk. Like it's very walkable. It's
Mhm.
they're made for biking and walking. I guess that is one of mine. So, well, let you guys do your number. Do your number two. You guys tell us your number two
Oh yeah.
before I
And
move on.
we had a comment really quick from Camille that I thought was
Sure.
good. She said there's a lot of fear mongering when it comes to hostels.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest advice is just to look at the reviews, because the ones we've said that are highly reviewed, they were so much fun. They were clean. The people were really nice. They have good rules, so you feel safe. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, yeah, so I use, and also a reputable source. And that's why I say booking.com and Expedia, you can see the reviews for the hostels, as well as Hosteling International. With Hosteling International, they're in that HI group, and you can see reviews on there as well. And that way you're paying Hosteling International and not the individual. So there's some ways that you can protect yourself to make sure that to help guarantee you have a great experience. So thank you for that, Cassie.
Yeah.
You want to go with our number two?
Second thing? Okay. I was gonna say, okay, the way of life. And I'm specifically for this one speaking, the example for me was Italy. So the Dolce Vita. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but just
Dolce Vita.
Dolce Vita.
And you have to do this. No.
The accent in the hand gesture. But you go out at you've been out all day, you're strolling around, it's like maybe midnight, and there's 3 generations of family, grandparents and kids running around the plaza. Yeah. The old plaza's been there for hundreds of years, and they're drinking wine and they're just catching up, and it's like, oh, that was like one of my favorite things in the whole world. I fell in love with. So
yeah,
the way of life.
I think excuse me. I think I don't have one that's related to that, but I agree. And I would say for me, when you say way of life, I would include in that what I experienced of like cafe life in both France and in Spain and also Italy. Like, because I was in all 3, and even Germany, in all of them, it was that sitting outside and the actual like taking time with people and you did see like different generations. Like I saw a lot of older people getting around town, and things were, and I remember on one of the metros, it's set up so the seats are for the older citizens, right? And so you didn't have to give people the stink eye for not getting up. Like they automatically got up and let the older citizens sit. But yeah, it's set up to enjoy life. That's what I feel like. It's set up to enjoy life. Even the fresh fruit and cheap good wine, right? Like, did it amaze you? And like, it's actually on my list somewhere.
That's on our list.
Wine was so inexpensive.
Oh yeah, we could just jump right from that to that.
Yeah.
The wine and the food.
They're like,
I don't want to go too far, but yeah.
$1 a glass or $5 for a bottle. I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, or like the big craft.
Yeah.
Just the way of life. Like they just enjoy life, and it's like, like you're like, oh, I want to go get fresh bread today, and it's just like, like everybody just seems to buy the food that morning, or I don't know. It's like it's very old school in that way.
One of the first things, so when I visited Europe back in 2015, that was one of the things I took back with me was their just in time. They didn't go, at least in my experience, to Costco and buy a month's worth of groceries. It was like the fruit, when you go to the stands, it's the little thing of fruit to sell for that day. The fisherman comes on a certain day or in the morning or whatever. And so things are fresher. And even OMG, I was somewhere, I remember I was in Lyon and I was having a bad start to my day. And I sat down to eat, and it was like happiness, just happiness, because the food was so good and it wasn't expensive, right? My observation is in France and in Spain, what I noticed is that they have a lot of restaurants will have a plate of the day. And they'll have in France it's a formule. I forget what it's called in Spain, but it's like a combo, if you will. So you can get like an entree, a sandwich, and a drink, right, for 10 euros or something like that. But a lot of places they had these ways of making eating out very affordable, and it's so much a part of the culture. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily notice the daily thing, although when I go back, I'm going to be looking for that. But definitely, like, they bring, like, sometimes, like, the little snacks if you get something to drink, or, I mean, and the food I do think is super affordable for, like, the quality you're getting.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's that way. I mean, of course, they have the high-end restaurants, but if you just go to, like, a regular cafe, and I noticed that in France too, like, just the most amazing food, and like bread and cheese, and I think maybe it's just a high import tax, when those things come into like America or other places, so they're more expensive there. But
like
yeah,
the cheese museum.
Yeah. In Toledo.
In Toledo, we went to
that
this
was so
cheese
good.
museum, and the cheeses were so good, and they would have been so expensive if we had bought them outside of, like, I guess they make Manchego. Manchego is from.
Oh wow! Okay.
So they have a Manchego museum, and they're so proud of it. And they will give you just like a bottle of wine, and you sit and just eat cheese.
I could do that. I could do that.
Yeah, it's like €5 each to sit there and eat cheese and drink wine. So it's
my
like
gosh.
things that are locally produced, things that are like from that area. They don't necessarily have to charge an arm and a leg because there's no transport. It's just
right.
Them where they are, and you get to enjoy them there. And so it's like, that was like part of the wine thing is also the food thing too.
So I'm putting that together. I put here the eating out is affordable. So that was I'll say that was my number 3, but that lines up with your guys's. So, hey, we're losing count here, but you guys just follow along.
It reminds me when we went to Italy. I think that, I don't want to say, but that may, on a different trip, that may be my favorite food place in Europe. I mean,
really?
It's hard to choose. But we went there, and I remember we were in Rome, and I'm going to forget the name of the, I'll find it, but the name of the neighborhood, it's like, starts with like a TR, I forget, but you have to walk across this bridge from the main section, and then it's like right there. And it's just these like little like meandering streets. And we found a highly rated restaurant, but it's sort of like a mom and pop place. It wasn't that expensive. We went there for lunch. They brought us wine because everybody drinks wine there at lunch.
Yeah.
It's very
HR, you listening?
Yeah.
For like 2 or 3 hours for lunch, sure. And I remember we got the seafood pasta, and then they made the pasta right there, handmade. Ooh. And yes, Camille. And I think I almost cried, like in my like not like bad cry. Like I was so happy. I've never been this happy eating pasta. I was just it was the most delicious thing I think I've ever had. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was amazing. So,
it was really
good. Yeah. I need to find the name of that place.
I was only in Italy one day with the cruise. I stopped in Marina di Capria. I might be saying that wrong, but I went to Florence. So I got to enjoy an authentic, Italian meal. I ate sardines.
Nice.
Yes, I ate sardines.
With the bone?
No, they like fried it, and there was an orange mayo, which was still like an orange mayo, but okay. But I ate all of it, so hey, it must have been good. And then it was a noci. So I ordered some things that I hadn't tried before, and what I noticed is that the Italian food, much like the French, is very rustic. I think we here in the United States, we have this idea of it being this fancy food, and really, like looking at it, they use oxtails, pork cheeks, rabbit, it's very interesting that it's, when you look at the authentic food, like it's very rustic.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just a matter, they use quality ingredients and the technique that they use to make things, like making that pasta, and it's good quality fresh pasta versus this box of pasta. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And the pizza, don't even get me started. Camille mentioned the pizza. Oh my God.
And sardine pizza is good too.
Yeah.
Sardine pizza.
And we would each get our own pizza, and it would be like this big. And we were like, we're not sharing. And I think we gained a few pounds.
We did, yeah.
I think I actually lost weight on my trip. I think I called my mom, like, my shirt And I think it's because I was eating regularly because like when you travel, like food and travel, right? And then every day I was hitting my steps. So it's like actually I feel like I lost weight on my trip.
Yeah, you get your steps in. That's we did too. It's kind of sad. I look at my step counter now and I'm like, oh, it's like gone way down.
Because I'm going from bedroom to my office to the kitchen, bedroom to my office to the kitchen.
Exactly.
Well, that actually, so I'm going to go to one of my other ones here, which was transportation options in the city, because that kind of is in line with what we're talking about as far as like getting around the city. What I loved about like when I was in each of these places in Europe, transportation was easy. They had metro, there's the electric buses, and then like all the bike rental and the electric scooter rental, and even in Paris they had motorcycle rental, like the scooter, like the not Vespa, but not like a Harley either, but like
Okay, like a scooter.
yeah, kind of like a small motorcycle. You could rent those from the same way you do the bikes and whatnot. And then in Limoux, my friend Nicole, she has an electric car. And so it was my first time seeing like an electric gas station or, station, I don't know what you call it, electric charging stations, right?
Yeah.
And so that part I think is really cool. Because I live here and I don't own a car, if I go somewhere else, it's important to me. I look at how do you get by without a car? And I would say that the places that I visited in Europe, you can easily get by without having a car. Mm-hmm. Was that your experience as well?
Definitely.
Yeah. We never, I couldn't even imagine some of the cities that we went to having a car.
Yeah, right.
It was nice when we were in the van, but it was like, to see how they park and how it's super tight.
Traffic in Madrid.
Oh yeah.
No, thank you. Oh God, no, thank you. No, thank you.
So we were fine with walking, riding bikes, and doing all of those other things. Yeah.
Did you ride a bike while you were there? Did you do the bike rental?
Did we do a bike? We have before in Paris.
We've done bike rentals in a couple of different trips. I think we walked like a majority of the time.
Okay.
We would like average 22,000 steps
we walked
a day.
So much. I will say it was interesting. I don't know if you guys follow Kara and Nate. They have like a vlog, but I just saw on Instagram they were doing the Tuscany Trail, and they biked like I don't know how long, and I guess they ate a lot of pizza and stuff, but they just biked all around Tuscany and like with a group of people. So
that was beautiful.
I'm kind of thinking to myself down the line that would be a cool challenge to bike, around the countries. But yeah, we've only rented a bike, I think, in Paris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've rented bikes on other trips that I've taken without Cassie.
Yeah.
But
well, I was thwarted each time. So my little cousin, we were in Paris, she was like, oh, let's rent the bike, blah, blah, blah. And so here we are. We were out like 11 o'clock at night walking around Paris, which, I felt safe. And we walked past, and there were 3 bikes left in the little rental spots. We're like, oh, we got to get on the bike. And we're like, okay, I don't know how to work this thing. And one guy came and was like, you going to rent this bike? We're like, no. Well, all 3 were broken. So even if we figured out the card situation, we wouldn't have been able to. So we just did the photo op and took pictures of ourselves on the bike. So that was in Paris. And then in Valencia, oh my gosh, if you go to Las Arenas in Valencia, it's like calling you to ride a bike, right? The way that it's set up. And I was like, I want to ride a bike, right? And so I go to the little stand and I'm trying to figure it out, but you needed some card. And like my brain and the trying to figure out the Spanish and how this works was just like, no. So I didn't do it. But one day I will ride a bike in Valencia down Las Arenas. So that is going on my to-do list, on my list.
I love
What about those scooters? You guys did the scooter thing in Mexico City, didn't you? The electric scooter?
Oh, yeah.
At some point,
Barbie just joined.
Oh, yeah. We were. Sorry,
do you want to ride a bike in Mexico City?
She wouldn't do it with me, though.
like always, everything always kind of gets to like this kind of funny ending, but like the scooters ran out of battery, or we left the lanes of where they're supposed to go, and they shut off and locked their wheels, and then we had to return them to the station. So we ended up having to carry them. We ended up carrying them back. And
we were in Chapultepec Park.
We were in Chapultepec Park, yeah, and we had to carry them. Like it was we were with my little sister, and we were like carrying these scooters down the road for like 25 minutes.
Oh, so good to know. Good to know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So what's your guys' next one on your list?
I can do the next one.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why we like Mexico. The same reason we like Europe is so much history. Like you trip over a rock. You trip over a rock, and it's like that rock is a special, like some sort of remnants of something, you know. Like in Mexico, when we're like driving around the Yucatan, we're like, oh, there's a hill. It's gotta be like an old city, you know?
Right.
But one of our favorite stories was when we were in the van, and we had kind of like a little more freedom to go where we wanted and stop where we wanted when we were in our van. But we were driving along, and Cassie looks out the window and she goes, oh, a castle. And I was like, okay, pull off to the side of the road. And it was a town called Obidos. And I'm going to ruin that one for anybody from Portugal. But it was this castle town. And it was like right out of a fairy tale. You could walk up the stairs on top of this outer wall, and you could walk around the entire perimeter of the town and look down into it. And it was like looking into It was like looking into a time warp almost.
Beautiful.
Nothing had changed in this town. I guess there had been a couple of earthquakes that had destroyed it a couple of different times, but it was the same exact. It was like the same that you would have seen, 500 years ago. Yeah. And so it was just something like the history of these different places that you go while you travel. And they're all unique, and they're just all so special to be able to see those kinds of things.
And I'm one of those nerds. We go to the museum, and Nate's like, come on. And I'm reading every plaque.
Security facing her out while it's closing, and she's taking photos of each on her way out. But we would say like the history definitely. Was walking in the footsteps of somebody or
amazing. Yeah. And I don't know if you're like me, but after a while, like I stopped taking pictures and stuff because I'm like, everywhere I turn, right, there's something, and there's no way you can give someone that experience. Like you have to go experience it yourself. I know I think it happened a couple of times. Now it's just like, okay, that's enough of the pictures. Because it's just everywhere you turn. I think it was, I might've been in Valencia, and it was like, because that's the place I knew the least about, right? And you're walking along, it's like, oh, that's so pretty. Oh my God, what is this? And then you're walking like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Right? And I just was like, okay, everywhere I turn, it's something gorgeous. There's some beautiful fountain. There's some the most ordinary damn buildings are beautiful.
Yeah.
There's these carvings and statues on the most ordinary buildings. I was walking down an alley and came across this, I guess, I don't know if it was like a parking area for this home, but oh my God, it was absolutely, so I just took a picture of it. It's down some random alley, you know? Yeah, but I agree. It's just amazing.
It's like everyday sort of, like people are like, oh yeah, this is where we live. No big deal. I'm used to it. Yeah. I love what Camille said too about, like Italy, especially, I mean, the Vatican or the Colosseum or just all those ruins near the Colosseum. And you're just like, oh my God. And actually what's interesting, I think, is like throughout parts that are usually connected to the Mediterranean, like when we were in Portugal and in Spain, like in Toledo, for example, there's so many Roman ruins. Like you find old bathhouses, like all these towns were like turned over, who was in charge or who was in power so many different centuries. And I just think that's so fascinating to see like what's underneath the main town. There's like another town, you know?
Yeah, that's in Lyon actually, because it has a long Roman history. Like it was established before Paris, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that we saw when I was on the Hop on Hop Off bus, which I like, was an old I won't say auditorium, but it's like where they used to host different events. And so you can see the stairs. I have a photo of it in that European Adventure photo album. But that, and then going to the Basilica Notre Dame, which we hear about Notre Dame and think that there's one, but it just, Notre Dame is just Our Lady, right? And so there's different ones around the world. And this one is in Foivre, but learning the history there and realizing like how deep the roots are in this place. And it's amazing. It is amazing. So agreed, Camille, which it's K on there, but we know her as Camille. Agreed. Absolutely. Just awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Awe-inspiring. Well, thank you for that one. That was a good one. I didn't write that down, but yeah, that's one of my favorites.
You can have it.
I'll share it. We'll share that one. We'll share that one. So, okay, this next one for me okay, we talked about history, but for me, the technology, the fact that, and I think part of this, why I think this is one of my favorites, is because living here in Mexico, everything is so cash based. And like you can try to pay something with a card and their internet's down, whatever. It was so awesome, as I lose an earring. It was so awesome for me in Europe that it was easy to pay things with my card, the taxi card, going to the thing, like the machines, cards. Like it was so easy to, in that, like I don't carry a lot of cash, right? So that part of it, it was one of my favorite things.
Oh yeah,
it was too easy. It was like a little, you like walk through a town and be like, you don't even have to put it in.
You just tap it, right? Yeah. I was like, oh, cool. I get to use my tap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Bill later. Why not just a couple internet outages?
And I don't think Americans realize how much more advanced some places are than we are. Like, I think people who haven't left the U.S. think like we're the it, you know what I mean? And it was like I was in the taxi and my cell phone service was crap the whole time. But I was like, I can't get on the internet. So, want me to turn the internet on for you? I was like, sure. He turns on internet in his taxi. I'm like, okay, go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or like the buses, they all had like you could work on the bus, which saved time, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Because the train, which that's actually one of my next ones, is about the trains. But I just had to put that out there that for me, who I am not, like the water man came today, I have no cash, so we have no water, right?
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, so that's one that stuck out for me, was how easy it is. And I will say to pay electronically, but I think technology, period, is actually pretty cool in Europe, and I don't think, in a way that I don't think a lot of Americans realize.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was great. And I mean, like the transportation is so much, I feel like, advanced, like it's beautiful. It's like high technology. I mean, and in fact, sometimes it's a little dangerous because you can't hear those trains. They're so
the electric ones. Yeah.
You have a story about that, but you have to be careful. Like if there's like train lines, because you will not hear them, and if they're not doing the bell.
And even having the electric buses, right, and the electric trains like throughout the city. And I'll tell you, the buses I saw were awesome. Like in Madrid, I believe, I guess the person had to push a button. I don't know. All I know is a platform came out. Like the bus leaned, a platform came out, and the person went up the ramp, and the bus went back up. It was like,
yes, that was amazing. Yeah, they have that on point.
Yeah, well, you see that a lot of like the trains and stuff, the modern trains that we are developing in the United States, they'll come from Germany, they'll come from Prague, they'll manufacture them over there, and then they'll bring them over to us. And because they are more advanced, I mean, they figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
They figured it out. I think it's probably because their gas prices have always been higher. But they figured out, like, okay, this if gas is going to be $6 a gallon, how do we live our comfortable lives, or how do we live our normal lives without being blocked? So
right.
that one out quick.
Yeah, and they I guess they commit to the infrastructure, because to have an electric car there, I think, is more feasible than to have one in the United States right now. And it's partially because of the infrastructure. And even to try and create like the electric bus system in some cities. Like I know Nashville, the city circuit, which is the free, there's like 2 or 3 that go around different areas of the city. Those are electric, right? But the regular ones are not. Right. So I think it's a commitment to the infrastructure. So, but that just struck me in Europe was we'll say technology, but I'm specifically talking about Janita not carrying cash.
We actually, the first time we needed cash, I was like,
what do we do?
What? It would always be a panic mode. It was like the bus is leaving in 2 minutes and they're not taking my credit card. And I was
oh my gosh, right.
No, just because of the air. Like normally they would take a card. Remember that?
No, she said this machine is old.
No, normally I was trying to do it online when we were in like.
Oh
yeah, and it was like airing, but it's
really Well, and so real quick, and so some clients will ask me, like, how much cash should I take? And so I am of the belief, and this is my my own opinion, get like maybe $100 worth of cash, right? But beyond that, like go to an ATM if you need more cash. Because I feel like if your cash is taken, you can't replace that. But a card or something, like it's easy to replace it, lock it, whatever, and then do what you need to do. But I just don't like carrying a whole lot of cash on me, and I think it's so easy to not use cash. So for me, like that's my 2 cents out there.
Plus, I mean, you can get all the points if you have like your travel credit card. Like we have the Sapphire, and like the Chase Sapphire, and you're getting points every time you use it. So it's definitely worth doing that one, I think.
Yeah, I think I have to plug real quick, just because you're talking about cards. Capital One. On my trip, I stopped in Dallas, Fort Worth, and they have a new Capital One lounge there. It's freaking awesome. So if you have, I forget which Capital One card. I think it's what's the Venture? Which one's the higher level? I don't know, but because Capital One.
Venture.
So I think it might be
about that one.
Yeah. So whichever one, there's like Quicksilver, Venture, all those, I think, for Capital One. But there's one you get into the lounge for free. And I think anything else is like $65. But it was freaking awesome. And y'all know I love lounge life. So I just had to plug real quick. Sorry, nothing to do with Europe. Just wanted to say Capital One Lounge in DFW is awesome. Can't wait till they build the other ones.
Capital One, do the right thing. Sponsor some travel for us.
Right. No sponsorship. I'm just saying.
I love lounge life though. Like if you can do it, it's worth it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh no, we're about 57 minutes in. Have we gotten to 5? We haven't gotten to our 5.
No, we still have one more.
We have one more, but we can make it quick.
Okay, so my last one is train travel. I actually ended up, even though I had some mishaps, right? I like train travel better than flying in some cases, the high-speed trains, but because it just seemed less cumbersome. And I don't know, like I enjoy seeing the countryside and a whole little dining card experience, and so I actually ended up loving train travel. So that's one of my favorite things about traveling through Europe.
What about you? Sleep on the train? Like, did you have the sleeper car?
I didn't do a sleeper car situation. Okay. I did the longest train was, the longest train I did. It might have been, the longest one train was from Barcelona to Valencia, I think. And it was 5 friggin' hours, and it was a regional, which I didn't like. Now I know, not doing that. And they didn't have, that plus there was no dining car. There was no internet. And like I said, I was having connection issues. So your girl was
Oh.
going through like, I was hangry, you know what I mean? And I had like a Karen moment. They're talking too loud. They're not wearing, you know, like, so yeah. So it was not good for me. Like that one was not good for me. But the other ones, really positive experiences. So, but no, didn't have to do an overnight or sleeping car. Have you guys done the sleeping car?
No, I would love to do one
Did we
day.
do
Have you?
Morocco?
No, that was
No.
an 8-hour just regular.
Okay.
And that one was kind of hellish, but
It was hellish.
I was sick.
Yeah. That's another story for another day.
Okay, all right. So that's my fifth one. What about you guys? What's your last one?
You do it.
It kind of goes with, you can go between so many cultures. Now this one is you can go between so many landscapes. From, the Mediterranean and, the mountains to going north. Ireland was, oh my God, one of the most beautiful places. So green.
The fjords.
Yeah, Norway. We went to Norway and Sweden.
Nice.
Beautiful. Like,
yeah, the difference of beaches. I mean, you can find all the different kinds of, just in one coastline, we found, so many different landscapes to go through. High cliffs that you would, rival the, cliffs of Dover in Portugal. Yeah, I mean, it's just
wine country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the same reason why taking like a bus or taking a train or something like that is you get to see all of those things in between, the in-betweens, right? And when you fly, it's great, it's fast, it's, but then with that slow travel.
And that's part of why I love the train experience. Having, and part of why I don't drive anymore, all that driving, I never really got to enjoy what I was seeing because you're focused on the road, right? And so part of what I loved about train travel was exactly what you're talking about, Nate, going from one landscape to another, like going from Lyon down to Carcassonne, like the Moot area, and looking at these little towns, right? Throughout the land. And, there was I think it was a sheep farm or something I passed. Like, I was like, what are these things, and these fields of yellow flowers and then purple flowers. And then going from Barcelona to Valencia and seeing like, the ocean and or wherever we were. I don't even know where we were, but yeah, and I know, where else was I? Somewhere, but yeah, I agree with you. Like it's absolutely amazing. I think it gives you an appreciation for how varied and how just diverse, right? The land itself is, that make up a country. So it's a good one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say the Amalfi Coast. I know we've talked about Italy quite a bit, but just traveling from Rome, we took the train there. And then we rented a car and we went through Herculaneum. Yeah. Thankfully, he was driving. We went through Herculaneum, amazing, like going back to the history. But then we have the car and we're going on this, like, if you've ever been to Big Sur or around the area in California, it was like that, like these amazing drop-off cliffs. But you're going to all these old towns with like really colorful buildings. I don't know if I've ever seen a more beautiful land. Like, it was so great. And the water, and like, you're having to walk down hundreds of steps to get down. There's actually a hike over there called the Path of the Gods. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
That we did a little bit. But yeah, I think the landscape all around Europe is just incredible, and there's so much more to discover for us, at least.
Oh yeah.
And we've only been to Africa once.
Yeah.
So we still have like so many different places.
And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Like it's I think one thing to know about traveling to Europe, and we didn't say like one specific country, is there's so much. There's so many ways you could do it. There's so many types of trips. You could take a wine and food exploration. You could do an exploration of history and monuments, like in Corsica. There's a home where Napoleon was born, right, and grew up. So, which was cool, which was really cool.
And so the proximity too. The proximity to other places too is kind of interesting, because if you're in Spain, you can hop over to Africa incredibly easily.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. You can
Amazing,
go to Europe.
amazing.
You can go to, or not Europe. You can go to Asia. You can go to the Middle
Yeah,
East. You can go.
yeah,
You can travel so many different places from there too. So
yeah.
centrally
And
located.
Eastern Europe, but that's a place we really want to travel more to because I mean we've heard just so many great things, and that's a place we haven't been to in Europe before. So that'll definitely be a trip for for the future. But there's
Yeah.
so much to explore there.
So much to explore. And that's why we hope that you guys have been inspired by this conversation. And we hope, at least, it's our hope that it inspires you to get out and go see the world. Go see more of the world, whether you're a backpacker, whether you're a Lux traveler, solo, couple, family, or anything in between. There's so much to see in this world, and go see it. I think we've spent the last 2 years, we spent 2 years in lockdown and COVID restricted, and now things are really opening up. Like I read yesterday, Italy now has done away with some of their entry requirements, right? So now you're free to move about the world, right? Go do it. And if you want, connect with Nate and Cassie at nativenomadlife.com. That's where your blog is, right, guys?
Mm-hmm. And there's links to our YouTube from there, or they can find us on YouTube at Native Nomads Vlog, or Instagram, same name,
and Facebook, right? Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, awesome. And then you guys know, if you want to connect with me here at Lawal Travel, it's lawaltravel.com, or Lawal Travel on Instagram, or Lawal Travel on Facebook. I don't tweet, so I'm not there. I don't tickety talk, so I'm not there. But YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I'm there. All right. Yeah. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Nate and Cassie. I am so honored not only to have you guys as friends, like real friends, but also you guys have been in this travel blogger vlogger game for a while. And so I just want to say to you, thank you for the beautiful work and the really genuine, heartfelt work and content you guys put out there. It's appreciated. I know in a sea of gimmicky stuff, like you guys, to me, are a voice of genuine, like true travelers. So thank you for what you produced.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for your amazing, you're as you say, you're a curator of travel, but of experiences. And every time we hang out with you or feel your presence, like it's just, you're so genuine. And yeah, we're grateful to have you in our life.
Thank you. Just trying to be me, no. All right. With that, it is Saturday. We're going to get out here and go live our beautiful lives. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And remember to connect. See you next time.